This part begins. And we see the dog. And the dog is very shocked, and he is saying, such a strong aura. No, it's a very strong demonic aura. And we see that a lot of demonic energy is coming out from the circle. And Ling Ling looks back and she says, it's them who are causing trouble. And the dog says, stop them quickly and carefully. And Wuming is saying, what a profound magic circle. I feel there is endless power in my body. Then Ling Ling attacks Wuming, and is trying to stop him. But Wuming creates a barrier near himself, due to which Ling Ling's attack cannot have any effect on Wuming. And Ling Ling goes away and starts falling, and the dog quickly starts going near Ling Ling, and Ling Ling falls directly on the dog, due to which she does not get hurt much. And when the dog sees what is in front of him, he becomes very surprised. Because now demonic energy starts going inside Wuming, due to which Wuming starts possessing. And seeing this, he too gets very surprised. Then Wuming catches hold of his own comrades and starts absorbing the energy from them, and when he absorbs the energy of his teammates, then looks back at Ling Ling and the dog. His eyes have become purple in color. And he attacks Ling Ling and the dog. And the dog is running away with Ling Ling. And Ling Ling is saying, this evil spirit is too strong. What's happening here? But then someone destroys Wuming's attack. And seeing this, Ling Ling and the dog become very surprised. Then a chain binds Wuming. And we see that some officers come to that place. And they have tied Wuming with a chain. Then one of the men says, Director, it's under control. Then Bailey comes to that place and says, 6 officers work, idlers retreat, and seeing Bailey the dog says, why is this a scam * things like Lao Lu? And Ling Ling softly asks the dog, is he the 6th senior brother? Then Bailey says, go, tie him up and escort him back. Yes, that's it. Peepa Bone is also worn and Bailey says to the dog, yo Dachiang, long time no see. And the dog says, who wants to see you? And Ling Ling says to Bailey, 6. Hello, senior brother 6. And Bailey gets close to Ling Ling and says to her, oh, this is the little junior sister brought by the 2nd senior brother. Sure enough, he has the demeanor of the 2nd senior brother. I heard that the 2nd senior brother took good care of the little junior sister. I guess the 2nd senior brother must have come with me on this trip, right? And Ling Ling is thinking, why do you keep emphasizing the 2nd senior brother? Then Bailey says, come out of the small town. Now that you are such an adult, stop playing hide and seek. And Ling Ling says, the 6th senior brother, I came out on my own this time, and my 2nd senior brother was not here. And Bailey says, huh? I have excited him so much, he didn't even come, he only sent Ichan to follow you. And Ling Ling says, why? But senior brother, it's obviously me you invited. And the dog says, Lao Lu, I advise you to speak up if you have anything to say, otherwise you may beware of the small town's revenge in the future. And Bailey says, I don't know if I can wait until the day he takes revenge on me. It's a matter of life and death for the family and the country, and this guy doesn't know where he's gone. On the other side, we see Zhao Qing, who is running very fast, and he is saying, why haven't you arrived yet? I don't know magic and can't even use a flying charm. I'm so angry. If it weren't for that damn old man, I wouldn't have come to this damn place. And then something comes in front of Zhao Qing. And seeing her, Zhao Qing stops. And that bird is very happy. And he says that his dinner has arrived here. But Zhao Qing is saying, how big are you? I'll pluck your hair out later and pay homage to Lao Lu. Then Bailey is telling, in fact, I originally wanted to invite my 2nd senior brother to come to the 4 Symbols reformation ceremony. After all, the one sealed here is the Demon King of the southern region. And hearing this the dog becomes very shocked and says, damn it, Demon King? And Bailey says, the strength of this thing is comparable to that of the tribulation stage. I'm afraid that even if the 6 agencies mobilize collectively, they won't be able to suppress it. But he didn't reply. I knew he didn't want to come, so I invited the new junior sister to come over because I wanted to use the provoking method to force Xiaoqing to show up. And Ling Ling says, I beg you not, Mao Xing. It turns out that he invited me because of my talent? And Bailey says, but it seems that the excitement has gone too far and he is completely angry. And Ling Ling says, so actually I am just a part of your play? Then the dog says, it's so shameless to even take advantage of a junior sister who has just started. And Bailey says, it's not about taking advantage, it's a special situation. Besides, wouldn't it be good to let the children come out to see me, the world, to work? But even if Xu Xiaoqing doesn't come now, I've already done it and prepared with both hands. The newly born Demon King is weak, so he will definitely find someone to possess him, draining the other person's spiritual energy as a supply to repair his body. But the possessed person will not inherit the Demon King's strength. As long as I take this opportunity to control the Demon King's possessed host, it is equivalent to locking the Demon King in a container, and I can easily defeat him. These talismans can suppress the Demon King's demonic energy. After the Demon King is dealt with, they will not have any impact on this boy. So before the ceremony started, I ordered someone to tell several guys who were looking for information about the location of the swamp, and I was waiting for the person with evil intentions to act as a container. If I can't defeat the Demon King, can I still defeat these rookies? And the dog says, you are such a loser. And Ling Ling says, Senior Brother Six is so calculating. And Bailey says, this is called learning strategies. But then some movement starts happening at that place. And many stones start flying, and Ling Ling is saying, wow. What happened again? And the dog says, damn it. What's the situation? And we see a very big hand, seeing which they all get very shocked, and it happens to be Wuming, who has transformed into a very dangerous demon. And there he is saying, die for me. And Bailey gets very angry after seeing the Demon King, and he says to the officer, a bunch of trash. This can't be stopped. And the officer says, Director, you said it lightly. This is the Demon King. Then the Demon King attacks the ground with his punch, due to which a huge explosion occurs at that place. And to avoid that attack, Bailey creates a barrier. And he is saying, just now, the Demon King separated a demon's soul and pretended to possess it to attract our attention. He waited until his body was repaired before he was born. Gee, I don't know if I can catch up with this month's medical insurance reimbursement. However, for a monster king so big, it should be quite spectacular to explode into fireworks, right? And when the Demon King sees Bailey, he says, Immortal cultivator? That's fine, I'll use you to nourish the king's demon soul. And the Demon King has attacked Bailey, and Bailey is using his power to stop the Demon King's attack, and he is saying, sorry, Cho declined. And Bailey has stopped the attack of the Demon King, and the Demon King is saying to Bailey, ha ha ha, this attack of yours is nothing to me. Itching is meaningless. And Bailey says, silly. What age is it? Who doesn't have a two-stage attack mode? And we see that something golden-colored is coming out from the ground, seeing which even the Demon King gets very surprised. And Bailey makes a gesture with his finger, due to which a huge explosion occurs near the Demon King. Then we see that the Demon King's body is burnt due to that explosion. And he gets hurt very badly. And seeing this, Ling Ling becomes very happy and she says, did you win? And the dog says, you kid has a lot of trouble. But Bailey says, I am only in the nascent soul stage and not Xu Xiaoqing. Do you think it is possible for me to kill the Demon King in the tribulation stage alone? What are you doing standing there? Run away. And we see that the Demon King is not affected by Bailey's attack, rather he has become very angry. And he moves his hand to catch Bailey. And he has caught Bailey with his hands. And blood is coming out of Wuming's mouth. And seeing Wuming's condition, Ling Ling and the dog get very scared, and both of them start coming back to save Bailey. But Bailey says to both of them, wait, don't come here. Then the Demon King moves his hand and catches Ling Ling and the dog. And the Demon King is speaking, Xiao Xiao Yuanying is somewhat self-aware. And Ling Ling says, is this another Demon King? And Bailey says, I'm afraid this is its true appearance. Is now out of control. Then the Demon King says, my body was damaged when I was sealed 10,000 years ago. Over the past 10,000 years, I have gathered my strength and repaired the origin of the demon soul. When the seal was broken, he abandoned that empty shell and transformed into a more powerful form. Now dedicate all your spiritual energy to this king. And after hearing the words of the Demon King, they all get very scared and start screaming. Also, the Demon King starts absorbing their energy. And Wu Ming, seeing his death so close, says, "My arrogant and extravagant life is not going to end like this." And then a lot of energy starts coming out from inside Ling Ling, seeing which the Demon King gets very surprised. And the Demon King throws that energy away. And we see that because of him all three of them are saved. And Ling Ling is coughing. Then Ling Ling says, "Ahem, sixth brother, was it you who blocked the attack just now?" And Bai Lei is thinking, "Is that water polo my junior sister's hidden ability?" And then Ling Ling says fearfully, "Ah, sixth senior brother, look." And we see that he has a lot of energy balls. And the Demon King is speaking. What's next? Yes, and the Demon King is about to blast that energy ball, when the Demon King's energy ball gets attacked by a feather, seeing which Ling Ling and Bai Lei are surprised. And because of those feathers all the attacks get destroyed. And the Demon King gets very shocked. What just happened? And we see that someone comes to that place, and seeing whom, Bai Lei says, "You are finally here. I know you still care about me." And Ling Ling becomes happy and she says, "Second senior brother." And we see that Zhao Qing has come here flying holding the leg of a big bird. And Zhao Qing is saying, "Well, it's quite useful." But then the Demon King attacks Zhao Qing and says, "Whoever stands in my way is seeking death." But Zhao Qing destroys the Demon King's attack very easily, seeing which the Demon King gets scared. And Zhao Qing is about to punch the Demon King. And Zhao Qing starts gathering energy in his punch, and makes a very dangerous attack on the Demon King. And Zhao Qing's punch is very dangerous, due to which the Demon King sinks into the ground. And Zhao Qing comes down very easily. And looking at the Demon King, Zhao Qing says, "It's a pity, if you were a rabbit, I might be gentler. You're doing two things wrong. First, don't touch Feng Gu's only junior sister. Second, Bai Lai can only be beaten to death by me." Then Zhao Qing turns back. And Ling Ling is thinking, "It turns out that the second senior brother has been following me behind my back, protecting me silently." And Bai Lei is saying smilingly, "I knew that with the cute little junior sister here, there was no way the second child wouldn't come." Then Zhao Qing extends his hand like Bai Lei, seeing which Bai Lei gets surprised. And he says to Zhao Qing, "Damn, you mean the one that recasts the spiritual roots? I was in a hurry when I went out and forgot to bring it." And Ling Ling is thinking, "Well, it turns out it wasn't because of me." And then the Demon King says, "You deal with this Demon King first, and I will take you back to the Overwatch Council to get it later." And we see, the Demon King rises again. And Zhao Qing starts leaving that place, and he is saying, "Oh, I'll come back later." But Bai Lei is very scared. And he is saying to Zhao Qing, "Come on, brother, you know the general situation best." And the Demon King comes up and he says, "You kid, how dare you sneak up on me while I'm not paying attention? I'm going to cut you all into pieces." And Bai Lei is saying to Zhao Qing, "Wow, go. You have to deal with whatever you mess with, my second brother." And Ling Ling is again nervous after seeing the Demon King, and she is saying, "Brothers, it's here again." And the Demon King attacks again, and we see that Bai Lei agrees to Zhao Qing's advice to save his life. And he is saying to Zhao Qing, "The recipe is here." And on hearing this, a smile appears on Zhao Qing's face. And Zhao Qing takes that recipe from Bai Lei and is looking at that recipe. And the Demon King is about to attack Zhao Qing, and he is saying, "This Demon King also wants you to have a taste of being attacked from behind." But Zhao Qing is reading that recipe and saying, "Gathering qi. Refining bones?" Also, Zhao Qing would have stopped the Demon King's attack very easily. And with just one touch of Zhao Qing, the Demon King falls far away. And the Demon King is very surprised. And we see that Ling Ling is very shocked. And she is shouting and saying, The second senior brother knocked the Demon King away with one punch?" And Bai Lei says smilingly, "It's just a basic exercise, you have to get used to it." And the Demon King stands again. And the Demon King is feeling very angry right now. And he is saying, "There is no spiritual power fluctuation in your body, but you can hurt me again and again. It seems that you are hiding your cultivation. I underestimate you. But Zhao Qing is not making any difference to the Demon King's words. And Zhao Qing has kept that recipe with himself. Then Zhao Qing says to the Demon King, let's have a fight, so much nonsense. And the Demon King is using some kind of technique, and he's saying, for a practitioner with such a high level of cultivation, the spiritual energy in his body is just for my use. And the Demon King has created a barrier around Zhao Qing. But it doesn't make any difference to Zhao Qing. And he is saying, can I be a little creative in fighting, but my spiritual power will be sealed at every turn. It's boring. And the Demon King says, ignorance, this is 1,000-year spirit-devouring array. It will not only seal your spiritual power, it will even devour your spiritual power, and make you miserable. And the Demon King attacks Zhao Qing. But then purple-colored thunder falls from the sky, seeing which the dog is saying, aha, it's raining, Ansho Gnome. And Ling Ling is saying, sixth senior brother, do we really not need to go up and help? But Bailei says, the Demon King wanted to extract spiritual power, but Xu Xiaocheng and the Demon King were laughing and saying, let me see what you do now. All your spiritual power will become my nourishment and help me to conquer the 9 provinces. But we see that Zhao Qing is pulling the Demon King towards himself, and the Demon King is saying, why am I here? Wrong, have you broken through my 1,000-year spirit-devouring formation? And Zhao Qing prepares his punch again, and says to the Demon King, I was worried about not being able to get close to you just now, but you took the initiative to come to my door. And after listening to Zhao Qing's words, the Demon King is saying, no. Why don't you have any spiritual energy fluctuations on your body? You are actually an ordinary person. And as soon as the Demon King says this, Zhao Qing gives a strong punch to the Demon King's stomach. And throws the Demon King on the ground again. And seeing the power of Demon King Zhao Qing, he is saying, how could this mortal have such strength? And Zhao Qing again moves forward to attack the Demon King. And seeing Demon King Zhao Qing coming towards him, he is saying, damn it, it must be because my strength has not yet been restored that I am so humiliated. I'd better find a cave to recharge my batteries first, and then wait until I come back, and get saved from the attack of Demon King Zhao Qing. And he turns away, and he's saying, you damn mortal, I will come again in the future looking for you. Then Zhao Qing looks at his dog, and holds his dog's tail. And his dog is saying to Zhao Qing, are you coming again? Your skills. And Zhao Qing turns his dog around and throws it on the Demon King, and he says, the first form of the Wind Rising Valley secret technique. And Zhao Qing throws the dog towards the Demon King with great power. And that dog goes directly and hits the Demon King, due to which the dog comes out tearing the Demon King's chest. And while killing the Demon King, he is saying, has your true soul been shattered? This is impossible. This king was actually defeated by a mortal. This king is not willing to give in. Then the Demon King is killed. And Zhao Qing's dog falls on the ground. And Zhao Qing grabs the demon core and says, history will remember you. Then Zhao Qing is about to break the demon core, and he is saying, look down on mortals. I'll crush you now. But Bailei stops Zhao Qing and says, stop. This inner elixir must be kept. And Zhao Qing says, what do I keep it for? Then Bailei says, if you look at the recipe, you will understand that the Demon King's inner elixir is an important material. It will be mailed soon. Your spiritual roots, it's really hopeless. And Zhao Qing says, if you want to reshape your spiritual roots, you must first gather energy, then refine your bones, then shape your soul, and finally cast your spirit. First, you need to refine the Qi-gathering pill with the Demon King's inner elixir, Ningshengquan, 7-leaf Ganoderma lucidum and dragon claw flower. Then find a place with the strongest spiritual energy, and take the Qi-gathering pill to gather energy and spirit, so that the spiritual energy in the body is abundant. Only with spiritual energy can you change your muscles and bones. Therefore, you need to use Tianao Sex bone-shaping sun technique to change your own muscles and bones, so that you can accept the forging of the soul-shaping furnace. Bone-shattering sun technique. Produced by Tian Baozong, it must be a high-quality product. The soul-shaping furnace can transform the practitioner's soul from the inside out, allowing his body to give birth to spiritual roots, making the impossible possible. Once all the foundations are in place, you can use the ultimate artifact, Tai-Bai ruler, to cast spiritual roots for practitioners and reach the pinnacle. Makes sense. And Bailey says, yes, this is the recipe that I worked hard to get through mountains and rivers. Don't be too moved. You know, our brothers are brothers, and our love is stronger than gold. Then Zhao Qing kept that recipe with himself and said to Bailey, so I said you can only be beaten to death by me. And Bailey says, that's right, but Zhao Qing starts beating Bailey. And Bailey is saying to Zhao Qing, don't fight. At least don't slap me in the face. The small town of magic. I times your uncle, and seeing both of them fighting, Ling Ling says, the sixth senior brother is so miserable. And the dog says, really? And Ling Ling says, but he deserves it. And the dog says, really? After this, Bailey would have brought all three of them to his house. And a beautiful lady is sitting next to Bailey, who is a little surprised to see Bailey's condition. Then Bailey says, in short, over the years, Master and Senior brothers have tried to create a spiritual root directly for you. But it fails every time because the method is wrong, and Zhao Qing says, as long as sufficient preparations are done, creating a new spiritual root should be foolproof. Right. What do you mean, keep it safe? Then Bailey says, this prescription is hidden in the top secret library of the Overwatch Council. You don't know how hard I worked to steal it and borrow it. It's absolutely true. And Zhao Qing says, are you so kind? So Bailey says, how can Zhou Yuanxianyi judge the heart of a gentleman with the heart of a villain when he enters the family? Everyone knows that your greatest wish is to reshape your spiritual roots and cultivate immortality. The origin of my second senior brother is the origin of me. The wishes of everyone in the Valley of the Wind, and even the wishes of the Overwatch Council, and this carries the Master's sincere teachings to you. And Zhao Qing stops and says, stop reading it. Then Bailey says, I have researched all the medicinal materials, magic tools, etc. You need to record them all in the book. I'll set off in 2 days to help you find all those things. And seeing that book, Zhao Qing says, how can I be sure that you are really helping me and not using me as a guinea pig? Isn't your sixth office very busy? Don't bother, I'll look for it myself. Then Zhao Qing stands up and starts leaving this place. And he is saying, in the entire Great Zhou Kingdom, only the Wanyu Pavilion of the Seven Sex Alliance has dragonclaw flowers. And hearing this, Ling Ling says, Wanyu Pavilion? Sounds a bit familiar. Then Bailey says to Zhao Qing, oh, you must not provoke the Seven Sex Alliance. These 7 major sects are not only the strongest alliance for cultivating immortals in the Great Zhou Kingdom, but also command and call upon all the sects of cultivating immortals throughout the Great Zhou dynasty. Furthermore, each of them possesses a forbidden magic weapon whose strength is so unpredictable that even our overseas control Yuan cannot afford to offend him easily. And Zhao Qing says, you say it's too late, I've already provoked them. Then Zhao Qing leaves this place. And Bailey says to the lady sitting near him, I'm a good boy finally sent away. And the lady says, Director, have you lied again? And Bailey says smilingly, what does it mean? It's just the last 7 games. The conflict between them is getting worse and worse, and the 6th office is too busy to spare its manpower. I see that the second brother is quite free, so I want to use his hand to knock on the 7 Sex Alliance. Then as soon as Bailey looks back, he sees that Ling Ling is in front of him. And Bailey gets very nervous after seeing Ling Ling. And Ling Ling has come to take the sword. And she picks up the sword, then she says, I came back to get something. Well, I didn't hear anything. Then Ling Ling starts leaving this place, and Bailey is saying to Ling Ling, no, please listen to my explanation. The recipe I gave Xu Xiaoqing is straight. I don't know where those materials are. And Ling Ling says to Bailey, don't worry, 6th senior brother, I'm not the kind of person who likes to gossip behind your back. What's more, the 6th senior brother has sacrificed his life to save us before, so I will keep this secret for you. And Bailey becomes happy after listening to Ling Ling's words, and he is thinking, what kind of considerate little cotton-padded jacket is this? It's better to be a junior sister. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have introduced Lao Chi here. I should have replaced him with a cute little girl. Then Ling Ling says, but if Brother Sixth refuses to change his nature, then I don't know when I might accidentally say it. Bai Lei gets shocked after hearing such words of Ling Ling, and he is thinking, crooked. This child was completely screwed up by Xu Xiaoqing. Xu Xiaoqing, you have committed a heinous crime. After this the scene shifts and we see Wanyu Pavilion. And Zhao Qing is saying, it's arrived. Ahead is the flower field of Wanyu Pavilion. It was rare that Lao Lu was reliable, and he was really quick and accurate in pointing out the path. But we see that Ling Ling and the dog are very tired. And the dog said to Zhao Qin, I said, breathe and breathe, we gave those two idiots from Wanyu Pavilion a good beating before. What if they don't want to give us anything? And Zhao Qing says, there is a whole field of dragon claw flowers in Wanyu Pavilion. If they are willing to take it from me, they will leave. If they don't give it to me, I probably won't be discovered if I pick one secretly. Then Ling Ling says, but second senior brother, there must be many experts taking care of a place like this, right? But Zhao Qing says, when soldiers come, they will be blocked by water and covered by soil. This is the so-called art of war. Then when they look ahead, it is written on the board, the original grey claw flower field. And as soon as both of them see that place, they get very shocked. And Zhao Qing is shouting and saying, where are my flowers? I am such a big piece of dragon claw flower. Lie. The next day, Wanyu Pavilion. We see a man sitting and drinking tea, and he is saying, family laws cannot be changed. And this is the man, Song Nuanyuan, the eldest son of Song Dynasty Wanyu Pavilion. Then Nuanyuan further says, brother, you still have to behave according to the rules today. And we see another man, and this is Song Shufu, the second son of the Song family Wanyu Pavilion. And he says, brother, it's not like you don't know what's going on now. Rules are dead, right? So are people? And Nuanyuan says, brother, as the head of the family, I have to think about you. And then Zhao Qing breaks the door and comes inside. And due to the sound of the door breaking, the teacup falls from Nuanyuan's hand, and it breaks. And Nuanyuan is saying, who is it? But Jufu is shocked that his teacup is broken. And he is saying, the teacup I bought for 3 million yuan. And we see that Bai Lei has dark circles under his eyes. This means he has been up all night. And he is saying, hand over the dragon claw flower to me. And Jufu is very shocked, and he is saying, can't you see such a huge piece of debris? The dragon claw flowers were burnt by my father. My cup, ah, and Zhao Qing is saying to Nuanyuan, don't you have it in your hands? What about seeds? Plant it for me immediately. And Jufu says, only my dad can grow dragon claw flowers. We haven't learned yet what a sin, 3 million yuan stones. And as soon as Zhao Qing hears this, he starts having a heart attack and blood also starts coming out of his mouth. And Ling Ling catches Zhao Qing and says to him, second senior brother, hold on. Then Nuanyuan asks Zhao Qing, no, who are you? How dare you break into my Wanyu Pavilion? Come on, throw them out. And as soon as Nuanyuan says this, many people start moving towards Zhao Qing. And Zhao Qing says to them, I am the beloved disciple of your father's best friend, acting master Xu Xiaoqing. Valley of the Wind, it was my master who specially asked me to come to visit my father, but you want to kick me out. Is this the way you treat guests at Wanyu Pavilion? And Ling Ling is thinking, when did the second senior brother become the head of the clan? And the dog is thinking, you are almost catching up with the sixth child, and you are telling lies as soon as you open your mouth. Then Nuanyuan says, Dad's best friend? Valley of the Wind? How come I've never heard of it? Who is your master? Uncle Zhang, Uncle Lu, or Uncle Li? And Zhao Qing says, that's right, my master's last name is Li. You all know how he behaves as an old man. Well, it's just like that anyway, so it's normal that you haven't heard of me. And Nuanyuan says it is true that Uncle Li talks little and rarely mentions his own affairs. I'm offended. Since you are Uncle Li's apprentice, you are indeed an honored guest. Please take a seat. But Zhao Qing says, Your Majesty, that's not necessary. My master is in urgent need of dragon's claw flowers for something. Please take me to meet with your father as soon as possible and plant dragon's claw flowers again. And after listening to his words, Ling Ling says, just got over it. Is this okay? Then the dog says we Chifingu are really good at deception and abduction. And Nanyuan says, well, my father is seriously ill and may not be able to see guests. Then Jufu takes out the talisman and says, since you are the beloved disciple of my father's good friend, there is no harm in meeting you, but I have to inform the inner sect elders first. And Jufu starts using the talisman. And seeing this, Zhao Qing is thinking, so smooth? After some time, Nanyuan is taking Zhao Qing to meet his father. And he is saying, after my father became insane and burnt the flower field, I've been sick for a while, and it's gotten worse in the past 2 days. I'm in a coma more often than I'm awake. And Zhao Qing says, it's okay, just remember how to plant flowers. And as they go ahead, they see that 2 people in front have tied a lady from behind. And a man is saying to that lady, you little bitch, you're definitely not doing anything good by being sneaky. Then Nanyuan says to them, what are you doing so noisy? And the man tells Nanyuan, forgive me, young pavilion master, but it's all because of this little bitch who rushed into the sky tower and broke the ancestral rules. But the lady cries and says to Nanyuan, young pavilion master, I didn't mean it, I really just went in accidentally, please forgive me. But Jufu says, oh, take it to the animal farm and feed it to the wolves. And on hearing this, the lady gets very scared. Then the man in front says, please make your decision, young pavilion master. Then Nanyuan says, note, times have changed now. It's too rotten to drag people away to feed the wolves if you disagree with them. And Jufu says, didn't the eldest brother just keep saying that we should act according to the rules? Why did you suddenly change your mind? And Ling Ling tells them, what rule is more important than a human life? But Jufu says, Chongshao Tower strictly prohibits people outside the Song family's bloodline from entering, and those who disobey the order will die. This is a rule that has been in place since the founding of Wanyu Pavilion, without exception. Then Zhao Qing says, oh? So where is Chongshao Tower that is so strict? And Jufu says, your distinguished guest may not know that Chongshao Tower is the geomantic treasure of our Song family. It is someone who steps on the roof on a full moon night, and can gather the power of the moonlight to gather energy and practice. This is also the reason why our Wanyu Pavilion is named Wanyu, because this is a rare and pure energy that perfectly matches the inner strength of this pavilion. Outsiders are never allowed to enter Chongshao Tower. More importantly, then Nanyuan says, today is the coming-of-age ceremony for injecting talismans. One of the rituals of the coming-of-age ceremony is to go to Chongshao Tower to practice. Now that everything is ready, if someone breaks into Chongshao Tower and destroys the ceremony, he will not be lenient. And Ling Ling is picking up that lady, and she is saying, second senior brother, she is so pitiful. And Zhao Qing says, you see, my master and your father are also old friends, can you? And Nanyuan says, well, let's make an exception for the sake of Qi Feng Gu, and I won't pursue it this time. After some time, we see an old man, and he is Nanyuan's father. And Nanyuan is speaking to his father, Dad, Uncle Li's apprentice is here to see you. And seeing the condition of the old man, Zhao Qing is thinking, no, he seems to be really dying. And Nanyuan is saying, sorry, my father is really ill and can't even host the coming-of-age ceremony. And Zhao Qing is thinking, no, you have to do it in person to check the pulse. And Nanyuan is telling, logically speaking, I should wait until you have completely recovered before personally hosting the coming-of-age ceremony. But now I can no longer delay my son's unfilial piety, so I have to salute the talisman on your behalf. And Ling Ling is thinking, looking at Jufu, why does he have this expression? And Zhao Qing becomes very emotional after listening to Nanyuan's words, due to which he starts crying. And he reaches out his hand to check the old man's penis, and he's saying, the old pavilion master will definitely get better as soon as possible. My master is still waiting for you to have a drink with me. And Zhao Qing is thinking, looks completely hopeless. But then Nanyuan holds Zhao Qing's hand and says, Brother Shu, you have also seen the current situation of my father. There is really nothing we can do about the dragon claw flower. Then Zhao Qing starts staring at Nanyuan, Then he says, "It's okay, it's just that it's not easy for me to come here. Why don't you just let me stay here for a few days and treat it as a trip to relax?" Then Nguyen says, "Why don't I refuse to entertain the distinguished guests? Brother Shu, feel free to stay." And Zhao Qing says, "Thank you so much, Brother Wenwen." After this, Zhao Qing is leaving that place, and Ling Ling says to Zhao Qing, "Second senior brother, why do you still stay in Wanyu Pavilion when the dragonclaw flowers are gone?" And hearing this, Zhao Qing says, "What if they have something to hide? And didn't they just say that the Sky Tower can gather energy? Let's explore the Sky Tower tonight." Next, we see a night scene. And Ling Ling is talking to Zhao Qing, "Second senior brother, isn't it a good idea to break into other people's homes?" And Zhao Qing says, "This is not a sneak attack, but an act of integrity. Verify for yourself whether the Sky Tower is really that magical." And the dog says, "You keep making things up," and then someone says, "Found it." Then the lady says, "Brother, it's them." And the other man says, "Damn it, why you?" And the first man says, "Are you the benefactor who just saved my old sister?" And Zhao Qing is asking the dog, "Who is coming?" And the dog says, "Can't remember." But Ling Ling recognizes the lady and says, "Ah, what a coincidence, the two of them were at the four-elephant reformation ceremony." But the first man moves forward to attack Zhao Qing and he is saying, "You arrogant maniac, how dare you forget us brothers?" But Zhao Qing easily punches the first man away. And he goes away and falls. Then he says angrily to Zhao Qing, "Do you remember?" And Zhao Qing is saying smilingly, "Well, I think about it, I've beaten him before, it feels quite familiar." And Ling Ling is saying to that man, "Do you remember that people rely on the feel of their hands?" Then the lady stands up to the first man and says, "Brother, are you okay?" And that man is saying, "It awakened his memory, and the pain in his face was nothing." And the second man bows his head to the first man, then he says to Zhao Qing, "Sorry, we were impulsive. My name is Mei Duixiang, and he is Mei Yiqian. You saved our little sister Mei Xiang. We just want to thank you in person." And Zhao Qing says, "Do all of you in Wanyu Pavilion have to use homophones in their names? If you want to thank her, go to her. This girl is the one who saved her because of her overflowing Holy Mother heart. It has nothing to do with me. If it weren't for looking for the dragonclaw flower, I wouldn't be too lazy to meddle in other people's business." And the first man says, "Are you here to find dragonclaw flower too? Then I advise you not to waste your efforts. The flower field has been burnt by the old pavilion master. There is really not a single flower left." And Zhao Qing says, "Also? Anyone else besides me?" Then the other man says, "Yes. Someone came to ask about it when the flower fields were first burned, and then he asked to track down the Nan Man." And Zhao Qing says, "What Nan Man?" And the first man says, "A group of servants came to the pavilion earlier. One of them was a gloomy man with a Nan Man tattoo on his face. And I heard that it was very suspicious that the Nan Man disappeared after the old pavilion master fell ill. That's why people who have been here before went to track him down." And after listening to him, Zhao Qing says, "The people of the Nanyu Kingdom are good at controlling poisons, refining poisons, and making medicines, and they have a very good relationship with the demon tribe. If he drove the old pavilion master insane, it seemed reasonable." And Ling Ling is saying, "Has Wanyu Pavilion ever offended the South Vietnam Kingdom?" Then the first man says, "I think they are probably eyeing my Wanyu Pavilion's secret technique. Although I have never been to the Sky Tower, I heard." Then suddenly Shifu comes to that place, seeing whom the first man gets very scared. And Shifu is saying, "What are you guys saying?" And the first man says in fear, "Wow, go, second young master." And Shifu says, "I spared your life just now, and now you are chewing the tongue of the old pavilion master with an outsider? Don't want to live anymore?" And the other man says, "Second young master, please calm down, we are not." And Zhao Qing laughingly says to Shifu, "Ahem. What a coincidence, second young master, I was the one asking them to find out how to enter the Sky Tower, and you happen to be more familiar with them, why don't you come and show me the way?" And at the same time he is thinking, one is the young pavilion master, and the other is just the second young master. Interesting. And after listening to Zhao Qing, Shufu gets angry and says, entering the sky tower? You are so brave. But Zhao Qing is not bothered by his words and says, have you forgotten what we said today? People who are not part of the Song family are prohibited from entering, and any offenders will be shot, right? But isn't there an exception now? She made an exception, so why can't I? And on hearing this, Shufu gets ready to attack Zhao Qing and says, presumptuous, I won't treat Song Nuanyuan as a distinguished guest. I never heard my father say anything about Lao Li. You sneaked into the Wangyu pavilion and asked for dragonclaw flowers. You have no good intentions at all. And Shufu attacks Zhao Qing, but Zhao Qing stops his attack very easily. And Shufu gets very surprised after seeing this, then he steps back, then he says, pick it up with your bare hands? How can this be? And Zhao Qing grabs Shufu's hand and throws it away. Then he says, it's late at night, let's take a nap. And Shufu goes far and hits the wall, and his condition becomes very bad. And he becomes unconscious. And seeing this, both of them become very surprised. And the other man is speaking, wow, that's the second young master. He actually beat him when he asked, why don't we call someone? It can also make a contribution, and the first man says his, but he is too strong, we can't afford to offend him. Otherwise, forget it, and when she sees the power of Lady Zhao Qing, she starts going crazy for Zhao Qing. And she is saying, so domineering. And Zhao Qing is saying, let's go and explore the sky tower at night. Then Ling Ling says, but senior brother, you just beat up the second young master of Wangyu Pavilion. Wangyu Pavilion will not let us go easily. And Zhao Qing says, one is the young pavilion master, and the other is just the second young master. The relationship between these two brothers is not that good. Maybe Song Wenan would like to thank us for helping educate his younger brother. When setting a fire, it's a good time to move. Not a small town, etc. And Zhao Qing and Ling Ling are going while hiding, and Zhao Qing is saying, dog narrator, don't make the keyword blocking so weird, we've gone from full age to our 18 in one go. And Ling Ling is saying, second senior brother, what are you talking about? Then Zhao Qing says there's still half an hour before Song Shufu's coming-of-age ceremony begins, so let's make a quick decision. And Ling Ling says, haven't the people at Wangyu Pavilion noticed that their second young master was beaten unconscious? There are no guards here. Wow, there's no one here either. Then the dog says this moon seems to have awakened some of the original impulses of this deity, such as the Tengu eating the moon, not howling at the moon wolf. And Ling Ling is saying, the scenery is so beautiful. And Zhao Qing joins both his hands, and a sign is formed. Then he is saying, gathering chi, but the dog says to him, why don't you take a break? But Zhao Qing starts mumbling, and he is saying, gather your energy, very quietly, or I'll blast you, loudly, gather your energy. And then Ling Ling hears some sound, and as soon as she looks ahead, she gets very scared because there is someone in front of her. And she is saying with fear, second senior brother. There's someone's hand behind that. And then someone attacks them from behind. But Zhao Qing sees the attack at the right time. And he destroys that attack. And we see that the old man is in that place, who is dead. Perhaps? And seeing him, all three of them become very surprised.